video where I talked to you about rig dynamics, I talked about the turning rigs and how the angle of the hook link material coming out from the eye, whether that by shrink tubing or knotless knot or the curve in the choddy, how that affects the turn, and how when the hook link is straightened, how the rig will go into the bottom of the carp's mouth as it moves off. Now a lot of people have said to me, yeah, that's very, very true, but what about pressured fish? Because we all know that fish that's been hooked a few times before in the past don't act the same way as a fish that has never been hooked before, i.e. they tend not to bolt off, and they learn to feed in different ways where they don't get hooked. And you know, some people mention, well, surely we hook quite a few of the fish when they're sitting on one spot and just sucking in the rig and blowing it back out again. I don't think we hook many fish at all by doing that. You know, if you drop a rig through your hand that's not attached to a lead and everything's slack, it will just keep dropping, and the amount of times it will actually catch and turn and prick into your hand is very minimal. And I think that's the same in water. I don't think we catch many fish at all when they've just blown the rig out and it's just caught on something. I think half the time it goes out the wrong way or comes out at an angle or goes out sideways. I don't think we catch many fish like that, but how we do catch them is when they'll pick up the rig, they'll move off slightly so that the hook point just embeds in very slightly, and it's at this point that pressured fish act differently to fish that's never been caught before. Now a fish that's never been caught before will feel that go into its hand and it will just bolt off, it will just be gone, and that's when you get a screaming take. But a fish that's happened to several times will associate that with getting caught, and it will probably try a few little tricks before it bolts off. And one of the tricks is to suck and blow. Now what it will do is it will suck the bait in and try and blow it back out again, and use the bait and use the flow of the water to dislodge the hook. It doesn't know it's doing that, it just does it by trial and error, but that's what it does. Another way of doing it is shaking its head. Now there is a few things we can do to counter that, and that's how you attach the hair to the hook. Now I've got 4 rigs down here that demonstrate that. One's a blowback rig, and it's a standard just on a loop blowback. One is attached by silicone tubing, and the silicone tubing is right round near the barb of the hook, and that's very good turning rig, but I don't think it's too good for pressured fish, and I'll explain that later. The next rig is basically how I attach a hair, just by a quick overhand loop, and it's like a cross between the silicone and the other one. It holds better, but it will still blow back. And the 4th one is the jod rig. You know, it's a fantastic hooking rig and turning rig, and I've caught a lot of fish on that, and it really is good. But let me talk to you a bit about how these rigs work. Let me just show you this rig first. This rig, it's got 2 bits of silicone tubing on, so it brings the hair out near the bend of the hook, near the barb of the hook. Now that makes it absolutely fantastic for turning. It will flip round, and because of the weight of the bait, it will quite often turn probably better than all the rigs I've got down there. But the problem with it is, once it's nicked in like that, if the fish doesn't bolt at that point, I don't think it's a particularly good rig, because all the fish has to do is blow and the weight of the bait will take it out, because the silicone doesn't really move unless the hook's embedded. So that's where that rig has its flaws. Any blow and it's straight out. This rig is the standard blowback rig, and as you can see it's just got a bit of a little ring there just to give it some movement. And what that tends to do is it's still got a pretty good turning effect, but when the fish blows the bait and blows everything out, it tends to secure the hook even more, because the weight of the boilie is pushed out and that pushes the point in even more. So if the fish is there sucking and blowing, it will keep that hook point there in place a lot better and help hook the fish. And at some point the fish will end up probably shaking its head and then bolting off. This 3rd one is the rig that I tend to use. Again, it does a similar sort of thing. So once you've got the hook point in place there, and the fish decides not to bolt off, you know, it's been hooked a few times before, and it blows, again it will blow it all back again. It's just the only difference between the way I do it. I just knot it round in a loose overhand knot, because I find it just stays in place and it's better for casting. The blowback rig is fantastic for when you've got a stick on or something to stop it tangling, but I have had 1 or 2 of the blowback rigs tangle or end up on the bottom in a bit of a mess and, you know, not quite sitting properly. But when you just do a little tiny knot on that, I find that holds better in place a lot, but will still blow out when it's in the fish's mouth. And again, you know, this is the choddy rig, and this works in a similar way. So, you know, this one turns like a demon. It turns as good as any rig I've ever fished. So when that nails home, again, the fish blows, and the boilie is going to make the hook go home even further. So have a little think about that, the way you set up the hooks. So silicone tubing doesn't move very well at all. Blowback rig will move quite a lot, but sometimes you get a bad presentation on them, I found anyway. My way of doing things keeps things a bit more secure, but still has the blowback principle, and the jolly is just a fantastic hooking rig. It's just a bit obvious sometimes, so it's not the be all and end all rig that some people think it is, but it's a fantastic hooking rig. So just think about the rig dynamics a little bit more when you're fishing next.